What's up, everyone? Sorry about that. Wouldn't be a Weezy show without some technical difficulties. So thank you guys for coming out. This is Weezys Weekend Windup. This will be the new home here on the Daddygate Podcast channel. All the Daddygate episodes. If you don't know what Daddygate is, go to the playlist on this channel for hashtag Daddygate and get caught up. I figured some people would abandon ship because they only signed up for Daddygate stuff. So for those that have stuck around and continue to stick around, can't thank you guys enough. Much love to each and one of y'all. Let's start out with our infamous shoutouts. What's up, Mr. Secret Squirrel, Marion G of G's, Happy Gilmore 1978. Who else? We got Alex. Welcome to the stream, y'all. Thank you guys for making it out. We will be going over some of the top stories of the week. I will be giving some opinion on it. It will be rated G for this platform. For all my uncensored content, follow me on Rockfin, Odyssey, on your favorite podcast player. And I'm going to be going over the Nashville Shooting, a little bit of the news article there, but I did go deeper into the abyss in an uncensored way on my podcast and Rockfin Odyssey. Can't really do that on this platform, unfortunately, but I do want to keep doing shows here. This is where it's cracking. What's up, Bella Rose? Welcome to the stream. And yeah, so again, thank you guys for sticking it out. And we will be doing these. If you are catching this on Rockfin or Odyssey, everywhere else, and you want to catch a live show, make sure you hit the Daddygate Podcast YouTube link to catch a live show. We always have a live chat that is always popping. So it's always fun. You guys make it exquisite every single time. What's up, Miss Hev? Thank you guys for making out. Mossy is in the house. All right, y'all. So first off, I want to go over the Nashville shooting that occurred Monday of this week. And I'm just going to keep it to mainstream news. Again, I did go down the rabbit hole. May not be for everyone's taste, maybe a little hard for some people to accept or want to venture down. So I can understand that. So on this platform, I'm only going down the official narrative. This is from ABC News. Nightmare. 6 killed in calculated mass shooting at Nashville school. A shooter that a shooter that identified as trans, armed with 2 assault-style rifles and a handgun, killed 3 students and 3 staff members at a Christian school in Nashville, Tennessee on Monday morning, authorities said. The suspect, identified by police as Audrey Hale, 28, of Nashville, had a detailed map of Covenant School, a school for students in preschool through 6th grade, and allegedly shot through the door to gain entry into the school, police said. The children were identified by Nashville police as Evelyn Deekhouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney, all 9 years old. The slain adults were identified as Cynthia Peak, 61, Mike Hill, 61, and Catherine Kuntz, 60, who was head of the school, according to police. Peak was a substitute teacher, and Hill was a custodian, according to investigators. The suspect was shot and killed by authorities in a lobby area on the 2nd floor of the school roughly 14 minutes after the 911 call was placed, according to police. Nashville Police Chief John Drake had said that the suspect was female and identified as transgender, but didn't immediately provide more details. A police spokesperson later told ABC News the shooter was assigned female at birth, but pointed to a social media account linked to the shooter that included the use of pronouns he and him. Drake also said authorities believe the suspect was a former student. No one who was shot survived, officials said. Drake said he was literally moved to tears to see the young students as they were ushered out of the building. The suspect was armed with at least 2 assault-type rifles and a handgun, officials said. At least 2 of those weapons were purchased legally, investigators said. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department... Sorry, my dog is giving me issues. Every time I'm live streaming, that dog has to take a wee-wee. All right. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department on Monday night released images of 3 weapons, as well as footage of the suspect driving and parking at the building, allegedly shooting through the door and walking around inside the facility while holding a gun. The suspect had a map of how this was all going to take place and writings, according to Drake. It appears the shooting was a targeted attack, according to the chief. Authorities said the suspect entered the school through the side entrance and went from the first floor to the second floor, firing multiple shots. It appears all the doors were locked, and the suspect allegedly shot through a door, officials said. The shooting was reported at 10:13, and the suspect was dead by 10:27, according to police. The officers who fatally shot the suspect were later identified by police as Rex Engelbert, a 4-year veteran of the force, and Michael Colazzo, a 9-year veteran of the MNPD. A car found near the school helped authorities identify the suspect, and authorities responded to the suspect's home, Drake said. Police later announced that they seized a sawed-off shotgun, a second shotgun, and other evidence, quote-unquote, from the home. In a statement Monday night, the Covenant School said its community is heartbroken. We are grieving tremendous loss and are in shock coming out of terror that shattered our church and school. The statement read in part, "We are focused on loving our students, our family, our faculty and staff, and the beginning of the process of healing." Throughout the day and afternoon, students were reunited with concerned parents. Families of the staff said they were shocked with the violence that had transpired. Alex Apple told ABC Live that his mother works at the school front desk, and she was at her car when she got an alert saying to shelter in place. She got out of the car, heard the gunshot, so she fled, he said. All right. So, again, I did a part 1 where I covered the official narrative, showed the video footage of the suspect going into the building that appeared empty. Parking lot appeared empty. The police body cam footage. And I did a part 2 with Shepard Ambellis, who has covered a lot of these incidents. It was a great show. We covered some of the weird findings that, fortunately, I don't feel comfortable addressing here. But either way, how you feel about it, it's a story that is getting a lot of publicity, and we will continue to keep our eyes on these developments. Next story is Trump indictment and hush money investigation explained. This is by Boston News, Channel 7, by the Associated Press, it looks like. I did a show on this a couple of weeks ago. It was on and then it was off. They were going to go into recess, and then it looks like it's got resurrected again. If you have been following me for quite some time, you will know that I am nonpartisan. I don't care about the left. I don't care about the right. People on the left are cheering this, having a good time, popping the champagne bottles and drinking the bottles of rosé and celebrating. People on the right are mad and heartbroken. How dare, I can't even imagine seeing President Trump in handcuffs. So it just depends on what side of the ideological spectrum you have been captured by to pinpoint where your feelings are. I'm nonpartisan. I think it's just simply more political theater. But let's read the article. Donald Trump has become the first former president to be indicted in a criminal case after a grand jury investigation into hush money payments made on his behalf during the 2016 presidential campaign. The unprecedented indictment comes as the Republican faces other legal investigations and launches a bid to return to the White House in 2024. The indictment will test the Republican Party, already divided over whether to support Trump next year, in part due to his efforts to undermine his 2020 election loss. Trump has denied any wrongdoing and accuses prosecutors of engaging in a politically motivated witch hunt to damage his campaign. Here's a look at the hush money case, the grand jury investigation, and possible ramifications for Trump's presidential campaign. What is the case about? The New York grand jury spent weeks meeting in secret to probe Trump's involvement in a $130,000 payment made in 2016 to the porn actress Stormy Daniels to keep her from going public about a liaison she said she had with him years earlier. Trump lawyer Michael Cohen paid Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, through a shell company before being reimbursed by Trump, whose company, the Trump Organization, logged the reimbursements as legal expenses. Earlier in 2016, Cohen also arranged for former Playboy model Karen McDougal to be paid $150,000 by the publisher of the supermarket tabloid, the National Enquirer, which then squelched her story in a journalistically dubious practice known as catch and kill. Trump denies having sex with either woman. Trump's company grossed up Cohen's reimbursement for the Daniels payment to defray tax payments, according to federal prosecutors who filed criminal charges against the lawyer in connection with the payments in 2018. In all, Cohen got $360,000 plus a $60,000 bonus for a total of $420,000. Cohen pleaded guilty to violating federal campaign finance law in connection with the payments. Federal prosecutors say the payments amounted to illegal, unreported assistance to Trump's campaign, but they declined to file charges against Trump himself. What is an indictment? An indictment is a formal charge brought against someone after a grand jury, which is made up of members of the community, votes, and enough members agree that there's sufficient evidence to charge someone with a crime. The indictment against Trump remains sealed, as is standard in New York before the arraignment. But once the document is made public, it will lay out the crime or crimes that Trump is accused of committing. Sometimes indictments include a lengthy narrative with lots of details about the allegations, while others are more basic and just outline the charges a defendant is facing. What are the charges? The indictment has not yet been unsealed, so it's not totally clear. Some experts have said that they believe Trump could be charged with falsifying business records, which can be a misdemeanor or a felony under New York law. To secure a conviction on the felony charge, prosecutors would have to prove that the records were falsified with the intention of committing or concealing a second crime. It is not clear what prosecutors may allege as a second crime. What has Trump's lawyer said? Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, said Thursday that the former president didn't commit any crime and vowed to vigorously fight this political prosecution in court. Tacopina has accused prosecutors of distorting laws to try to take down the former president. He has described Trump as a victim of extortion who had to pay the money because the allegations were going to be embarrassing to him regardless of the campaign. He made this with personal funds to prevent something from coming out. False, but embarrassing to himself, his family, his young son. That's not a campaign finance violation, not by any stretch, Tacopina said on ABC's Good Morning America before the indictment. What's this grand jury and who testified? A grand jury is made up of people drawn from the community, similar to a trial by jury. But unlike juries that hear trials, grand juries don't decide whether someone is guilty or innocent. They only decide whether there is enough evidence for someone to be charged. Proceedings are closed to the public, including the media. New York grand juries have 23 people, and at least 16 must be present to hear the evidence to deliberate, and 12 have to agree there is enough evidence in order to issue an indictment. David Pecker, a longtime Trump friend, And the former chief executive of the parent company of the National Enquirer returned to the courthouse this week where the grand jury was meeting. Pecker's company, American Media Incorporated, secretly assisted Trump's campaign by paying $150,000 to McDougal in August of 2016 for the rights to her story about the alleged affair with Trump. The company then suppressed McDougal's story until after the election. So the story goes on, and we have more to cover. So that in a nutshell is what's going on. We still don't know what the charges are. I've heard stories of many, but it remains to be seen. And like I said earlier, you have one side that has been captured cheering this on, saying that this is democracy at work, and others saying this is an abuse of the justice system. And I saw one guy comparing Trump to when Jesus was getting arrested by the Romans. So it just depends on what side you're in. And like I said, being nonpartisan, I'm just looking at it as political theater. What would change my mind and would make me say that there's something to it would be if George Bush was charged with war crimes for the weapons of mass destruction that cost over 1 million Iraqi innocent lives. If Bill Clinton was held to the same standard as Trump for his sexual indiscretions, including the assault on Juanita Broderick. But that's not going to happen. So I don't think much is going to happen out of this. I just think it's more political theater. That is simply my opinion. That is what the live chat is for. Duke it out there. Leave comments. Leave your thoughts and opinions. I am a believer in freedom of speech. So let's move on to something that happened. There was a lot of things that happened, so I'm just trying to get some of the major stories, and some of which you may have already been familiar, but some that you may have not. This is from Reason.com. The Restrict Act is something that made a blip in the news radar, but I think it's pretty damn important. The Restrict Act would restrict a lot more than TikTok. Again, this is from Reason.com by JD Tuchile, I think, written on the 31st of March, 2023. Even if you believe that government should be in the business of banning things such as popular communication tools, the details of the effort to eject TikTok from the United States should give you pause. Predictably, politicians are using fears that the popular social media service is spying on behalf of the Chinese government to propose broad legislation that threatens to affect much more than one app. Wait, I thought this was about TikTok. Would the Restrict Act, aka the TikTok ban bill, criminalize the use of VPNs? Reasons Elizabeth Nolan Brown asked of the potential impact on virtual private networks that shield internet users' identities and locations. The answer is, in many cases, yes. But wait, there's more. The Restrict Act, proposed by Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia, and a list of co-sponsors including Senator John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, doesn't mention TikTok or parent company ByteDance or even social media. Instead, it hands a whole lot of power to the government, particularly the Secretary of Commerce, to review and prohibit certain transactions between persons in the United States and foreign adversaries regarding information and communications technology. The bill's text states in part, the Secretary, in consultation with the relevant executive department and agency heads, is authorized to and shall take action to identify, deter, disrupt, prevent, prohibit, investigate, or otherwise mitigate, including by negotiating, entering into, or imposing and enforcing any mitigation measure to address any risk arising from any covered transaction by any person or with respect to any property, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and the Secretary determines. Number one, poses an undue or acceptable risk of. It then launches into a list of presumed horribles involving information and communications technology products, critical infrastructure, digital economy, a federal election, or national security. It includes a vague authorization of action to counter coercive or criminal activities by a foreign adversary that are designed to undermine democratic processes and institutions or steer policy and regulatory decisions in favor of the strategic objectives of a foreign adversary. The Restrict Act has been gathering bipartisan momentum in the Senate, as well as backing from the Biden administration as a workable solution to address the emergent risk posed by foreign ICT products and services to national security, the National Law Review summarized last week. If passed, the Restrict Act would provide the Secretary of Commerce broad authority to take appropriate measures to deal with identified risks and to enforce such measures with hefty civil and criminal penalties. Damn, censorship is what that means. Of course, this being the 21st century, the bill also grants the president new power to take actions regarding undue or unacceptable risk posed by information and communications technology, ICT. That's a huge grant of authority to address the supposed peril posed by TikTok. What does it all mean? Use your imagination. Government officials implementing the law certainly will. No, it's not just about TikTok. VPNs would be covered in the Restrict Act, led by Senators Mark Warner and John Thune, that would require the Commerce Department to evaluate the national security risks of foreign technology, the Washington Post, Tim Starks writes. Warner said Chinese VPNs were the sort of apps that cry out for a systemic review like that proposed in the bill, which would allow the Commerce Department to examine apps on national security grounds, Stark's colleague Joseph Menn reported this week. But the legislation doesn't stop there. The bill's reference to digital economy also raises eyebrows. Although the primary targets of this legislation are companies like TikTok, the language of the bill would potentially be used to block or disrupt cryptocurrency transactions, and in extreme cases block Americans' access to open source tools or protocols like Bitcoin, warns Coin Center. Under the bill, any technology targeted by the government should be connected to a foreign adversary. Those are defined in the text as China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, Venezuela. Sounds like the axis of quote-unquote evil, apparently. But the bill also allows the Secretary of Commerce to designate new foreign adversaries in consultation with the Director of National Intelligence. That allows an enormous amount of room to go after technology developed in whole or in part countries that don't play along with crackdowns or cryptocurrencies, encryption, or online speech. And the language may allow even broader reach for meddling by U.S. officials. This is important right here. Let's see. Let's skip over here. If the feds don't like TikTok, they shouldn't use it. We are troubled by growing demands in the United States for restrictions on TikTok, a technology that many people have chosen to exchange information with others around the world, notes the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Before taking such a drastic step, the government must come forward with specific evidence showing at the very least a real problem and a narrowly tailored solution. Narrowly tailored would be deleting TikTok from sensitive government devices and otherwise leaving people alone to make their own choices. The Restrict Act isn't narrowly tailored at all. In fact, it is so broad, it's difficult to see where its authoritarian powers end. Open-ended bills crafted to exploit popular panics make for terrible legislation. So there you go. Scary times indeed. The censorship grip is tightening day by day. And somewhat related to this censorship nonsense going on, this came out on the news. A judgment was laid down just a couple days ago. This is by the Washington Examiner. Pro-Trump Twitter influencer found guilty of conspiracy against rights over 2016 memes. This guy is facing 10 years over memes. Let's read it, and I have some thoughts on this. A pro-Trump Twitter influencer was found guilty of election interference for memes shared around the 2016 presidential election. Douglas Mackey, 33, better known by his online handle Ricky Vaughn, was found guilty of conspiracy against rights in a Brooklyn court for his creation and sharing of memes. Prosecutors argue the memes were intended to deprive individuals of their constitutional right to vote. A press release from the New York Eastern District U.S. Attorney's Office said, Twitter trolls election interference trial delayed after alleged witness intimidation. The primary focus was memes styled in the format of official Hillary Clinton presidential campaign ads. They instructed potential voters to vote by text, which is not possible. Mackey now faces 10 years in prison. Now, I saw a copy of this meme of Hillary Clinton, and I will say it did look legit. It had fine writing telling people to avoid the lines. It did look like an official thing. But 10 years over this, when you have people basically murdering other people and getting 5 years in a manslaughter charge, and you're going to give this guy 10 years for a freaking meme. The world is insane. I'm not saying I condone this, but 10 years is just ridiculous in my opinion. Mackey has been found guilty by a jury of his peers of attempting to deprive individuals from exercising their sacred right to vote for the candidate of their choice in the 2016 presidential election, U.S. Attorney Breon P. said. Today's verdict proves that the defendant's fraudulent actions crossed a line into criminality and flatly rejects his cynical attempt to use the constitutional right of free speech as a shield for his scheme to subvert the ballot box and suppress the vote. Peace added, that sounds like you are suppressing freedom of speech. This case presents an unusual array of compelling appellate issues. I am optimistic that the conviction will be vacated, he said in a statement to the Washington Examiner. The memes telling voters to text to vote were apparently designed to look like Clinton campaign ads, and they use the same font and format as typical campaign ads. Avoid the line, vote from home, text candidate's first name to 59925. Vote for the candidate and be part of history. Text accompanying one meme read. Fine print attached to the meme read must be 18 or older to vote. One vote per person must be a legal citizen of the United States. Voting by text not available in Guam, Puerto Rico, Alaska, or Hawaii. Paid for by the, obviously, Hillary Clinton for President 2016. According to prosecutors, around 4,900 unique numbers texted their preferred candidate's name to the listed number around Election Day in 2016. However, it is unknown if those who texted the number proceeded to vote in person. Court documents also mention other memes spread by Mackey and his co-conspirators. One viral campaign used Photoshop tweets from Clinton and fake campaign ads to suggest that the presidential candidate was looking to draft women and go to war with Russia or Syria. They used the hashtag draft our daughters. Come on, man. If you were stupid enough to fall for that meme, I don't know. Court documents also mentioned other memes spread by Mackey and his co-conspirators. One viral campaign used Photoshop. Oh shit, I already read that. Mackey's case has caused alarm among some conservatives who see his prosecution as an infringement against the First Amendment right to free speech. He also won the support of Twitter CEO Elon Musk, who tweeted that Mackey's case was concerning. Conservatives pointed to a satirical video comedian Christina Wong posted on election day posing as a Trump supporter. In it, she urged Trump voters to cast their ballot the day after the election day. She has faced no criminal charges over the video. So that's a good point. The lack of double standard should be a head scratcher and kind of piss you off. If you are being objective, if you are ideologically captured, you'll probably say, I don't care. But interesting times. This is a article that came out that I think is big news and is not getting a lot of mainstream coverage. So I want to read it here. This is by The Print. It's a Indian media company. They have about 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube. And this article is by Aditi Khanna from The Print. And it is titled, British Indian Medic Backs Legal Review of COVID Vaccine in South Africa High Court. London, March 29th. Leading UK-based Indian origin consultant cardiologist Asim Malhotra is among a group of international experts backing an approach to the High Court of South Africa calling for an urgent judicial review of Pfizer's mRNA COVID vaccine products, which he fears may be harmful. Lawyers representing the human rights group Freedom Alliance of South Africa say the show cause notice was filed on Monday at the High Court of South Africa, Gauteng Division, Pretoria, along with real-world data analysis, which is claimed to show an association with increasing death from both COVID and non-COVID causes in the vaccinated compared to the unvaccinated. FASA has approached the court to review and set aside authorization of Pfizer's vaccine products on the basis that the authorization was unlawful. If successful, this could result in the removal of COVID mRNA vaccine from the South Africa market and also have global implications. Having critically appraised the literature and Pfizer trial data, the evidence is unequivocal, Malhotra said. For the overwhelming majority of people, the Pfizer COVID mRNA vaccine is significantly more harmful than beneficial and likely should never have been approved to be administered to a single human being, said Malhotra, who himself took 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine and is now backing the show cause notice. It is alarming to me that the local regulators are encouraging the vaccination of young children in the circumstances. The rollout of the Pfizer vaccine product should, in my opinion, be halted pending a full investigation into how we got this so very wrong. That is, without question, the responsible and ethical move, he said. The FASA case, among the first of its kind, is being handled by advocate Erin Diane Richards, briefed by Daniel Eloff of Herder Spies Incorporated in South Africa, and is supported by leading medical and scientific professionals from around the world. Malhotra, among the supporters, believes the case is factually, medically, and scientifically sound. Dr. Herman Edeling, a specialist neurosurgeon with over 40 years of experience, notes in the founding affidavit that mRNA vaccine administered as Comirnaty in South Africa should never have been branded as safe and effective. The applicants in this application call on Pfizer to explain their conduct. They call on South African regulators and government to hold Pfizer to account and to act in the best interests of the South African public. And they humbly request this honorable court to come to their aid in achieving these calls in the interest of the health of the South African public, said Edeling. While the notice of the motion was recorded by South African court registrar on Monday, FASA hopes to announce a date of hearing in due course. Pfizer's media office has been approached for a response, and it is yet to comment on this development. So, interesting developments. Another thing that I will definitely be keeping my eyes out on. Earlier in the week, we heard more about the Epstein lawsuit in which JP Morgan is involved. A case that was brought up by a DA in the Virgin Islands. And I read this in one of the Weezy Weekend Windups a while back. But upon her bringing charges forth, she was forced to resign. So here is a DA that was doing her damn job, doing what she was put to do, and doing her job cost her her job. But the case has moved forward, it appears, and this is probably why we're only hearing about it. So this is by MSN.com, actually by Forbes, and it is written by Nicholas Ryman, Forbes staff. Epstein lawsuit: billionaire Sergey Brin, Thomas Pritzker, and Mortimer Zuckerman subpoenaed in JP Morgan Chase. At least 3 billionaires received subpoenas this week connected to a lawsuit against JP Morgan over the bank's relationship with late convicted offender Jeff Epstein. A person familiar with the matter told Forbes the latest twist in a case that has ensnared some of America's most powerful figures. Key facts: Google co-founder Sergey Brin, Hyatt Hotels executive chairman Thomas Pritzker, and real estate mogul Mortimer Zuckerman were the billionaires subpoenaed, while former Disney president Michael Ovitz has also asked to provide information. Interesting stuff. The reason the businessmen were subpoenaed is not clear, but they've been told to provide documents and communications connected to Epstein and the bank, according to the Wall Street Journal, which first reported the news on Thursday. The subpoenas were issued by the Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is seeking damages from the bank over what it claims was a continued relationship with Epstein after it became aware of sex trafficking allegations against him. Epstein owned an approximately 70-acre private island in the U.S. territory before his death in 2019, where he allegedly brought scores of underage girls to assault them. The businessman could not immediately be reached for comment. Key background: JP Morgan faces lawsuits from the Virgin Islands and an unnamed Epstein victim over the bank's decision to keep Epstein as a client until 2013. 5 years after he was convicted in Florida for soliciting prostitution from someone under the age of 18. JP Morgan has claimed bank executives were largely unaware of additional allegations against Epstein in the Virgin Islands, which prompted his 2019 arrest, with one exception. The bank filed a lawsuit earlier this month against former investment banking executive Jess Staley, accusing him of concealing a personal relationship he had with Epstein, suggesting he was aware of and may have been a participant in the alleged trafficking operation. Staley left JP Morgan in 2013 to become CEO of Barclays before resigning in 2021 amid a regulatory investigation into his relationship with Epstein. Staley has denied any wrongdoing. Epstein has allegedly died in his jail cell in 2019 as he awaited his trafficking trial in what authorities ruled a suicide. What to watch for: JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon has agreed to sit for a deposition in the case, even though the bank has said he was unaware of the allegations against Epstein. They all say that. An internal email cited in the Virgin Islands lawsuit appears to show the bank was ready to drop Epstein as a client following his 2008 guilty plea, but the decision was pending Dimon review. Forbes valuation: we estimate Brin is the richest of the billionaire trio subpoenaed, with a net worth of $85.6 billion, making him the 12th richest person in the world. Pritzker is worth an estimated $5.3 billion, while Zuckerman's wealth is estimated around $2.3 billion. Dimon is also a billionaire, commanding an estimated net worth of $1.6 billion. So, again, we are only this far because of the bravery of that district attorney from the Virgin Islands that brought this case to the forefront. And as a result, she was forced to resign. So keep that in the back of your mind. When people want to wonder why you have questions regarding official narratives and why you can't trust the government, I always come back to this, the Epstein case. A case that involved people on the left, people on the right, former presidents, former prime ministers of Israel, former royals like the nonce Prince Andrew, and on and on and on. This is why I am a vowed government skeptic 100%. And I will point to this to back up my claims each and every time. Now, to wrap it up, let us look at a interesting article. Officers arrest an alligator walking near Tampa Bay Stadium. This is in my neck of the woods. So apparently this, if you live in Florida, this happens quite regularly. Any lake or pond will have alligators, whether they're little or giant guys. I mean, that's usually the question. But let's read this article, and I'll even play a little bit of footage for y'all. Tampa, Florida. Tampa police officers were called to a commercial part of town because of a disturbance, but it wasn't a public brawl or anyone behaving in a disorderly manner. It was a 9-foot alligator, or 2.7 meters, Wednesday night, ambling down a street not far from Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The urban gator whipped its tail. I guess it's form of reptile booty clapping. When an officer first approached it, poking it with an outstretched baton. Half a dozen officers, along with a crowd of spectators, watched as lights from squad cars flashed on the blocked-off street, according to body cam video released by the Tampa Police Department. The officer then fashioned a noose from a yellow rope, lassoed it around the top of the gator's mouth. "Ready?" one of the officers said. "You want to jump on him?" And that's what they did, as one officer went for the head with an outstretched hands and another officer weighed down the rest of the alligator's body. A third officer was recruited to help weigh the gator down. The officer keeping the gator's mouth shut asked his colleagues for a towel to cover its eyes and some duct tape to wrap its mouth. They also taped together the gator's legs behind its back like you're handcuffing him, an officer said. I don't know, maybe we need to call that Alligator Floyd. Phil Walters, an alligator trapper contracted with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Nuisance Alligator Program, who was called in to assist the officer, said he was impressed by the job done by the Tampa's finest before he arrived at the scene. "They did a great job," Walters told Tampa television station of WFLA. "They had the thing taken care of for me." A 9-footer is a pretty good size. Let's see it right here. That's enough to take down a person for sure. They get bigger than that, but yeah, that guy gets a hold of you. He'll cause some damage for sure. So there he is. There's the noose and the body cam. That's freaking awesome. But there we are. You get his mouth shut, hop on him, and you wrestle him down. That's pretty much the norm in Florida on a somewhat regular basis. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is the top news of the week. What's up, George O'Brien? Thank you guys for making it out. Thank you guys again. If you guys are just tuning in, this is going to be the new home of the Weezy Weekend Wind-Up. Sorry, as I get the outro ready. Can't thank you guys enough. You guys are super exquisite, super awesome, as per usual. God damn it. And for those that have stayed and didn't peel out, can't thank you guys enough for that. You guys are super awesome. Who else? Did we have any other new faces in here? Fred Johnson, glad to see you on here, Weez. Hey, Fred Johnson, dude, I haven't seen you in a while, man. Yeah, this is the new home for the Weezys Weekend Windups. Oh, another reminder before I head out. Next week, I have, and again, if you want my uncensored, I'm rated G on these Weezy Weekend Windups, but if you really want to see me uncensored, uncircumcised, whatever pronoun you want to use, follow me on Rockfin, Odyssey, and on your favorite podcast player. Next week, I will be having Captain Dan. He has been flying planes for well over 35 years. He questions the 9/11 official story, and to get his perspective as a seasoned pilot is gonna be a fun show. He agreed to a marathon podcast, so if you miss me doing marathon podcast next week, next Saturday, it will be on Rockfin, so make sure you go to Rockfin, follow me there. We will be having a marathon podcast with Captain Dan. You will not want to miss it if you are into 9/11 stuff. And then the week after that, I will have Derek Bros of the Conscious Resistance. And then I have a podcast that I'm still trying to get the date settled with Gordo, the Irishman Gordo from Those Conspiracy Guys. I'm going to try to do a marathon podcast with him. Holy smokes, it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys want those uncensored, unadulterated shows, follow me on Rockfin and everywhere else. Thank you guys. Much love, hugs, and kisses.